remember to push your button and then turn it off. And remember, you don't need to lean into the microphone. You might want to move it closer to you.
It's all right. Roll call. Loy.
Here.
McDougall.
Here.
Moss. Chin.
Here.
Hagan.
Here.
Wow.
Oh, there we are.
There you are. All present.
Okay, good. We have David Carnahan here to address us for oral communications.
Good evening, Chair Loy and fellow commissioners. I'm here for two reasons today. The first of which, as many of you can guess, is board and commission recruitment. Tomorrow is the deadline. We're accepting applications for the Historic Resources Board, the Parks and Recreation Commission, and the Planning and Transportation Commission. It's 3 terms on the Historic Resources Board, 5 on the Parks and Recreation Commission, and 1 on the Planning and Transportation Commission. The reason the clerk's office comes to board and commission meetings is because we know that you are active community members that have a much greater reach into the community than we do in the clerk's office. We really hope that with tomorrow being the deadline, it's kind of a big ask for you to find us someone. But in the future, when I come, I'm expecting each of you to ask 2 people about at least one of the positions. So if you do know anyone interested in the Historic Resources Board, the Parks and Recreation Commission, or the Planning and Transportation Commission, applications are available on the City Clerk's website. The deadline is 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. I am also here to express Council's appreciation to you for your service last year. A few of you weren't able to make it to the Board and Commission recognition event, so I have your proclamations and gifts, so I'll pass those out along with flyers for the recruitment. Thank you very much.
I guess I have one question. I actually read the thing about for the Historic Commission, I think it says something like there's 3 people and 2 of the 3 have to have architecture background or something like that. Is this opening one where you have to have that? Do I have that right?
So yes, I believe it is 1 or 2 of them are required to either be a owner or occupant of a historic home, and several of them are required to be residents, but most people on the commission are not required to be owner or occupant of a historic home.
Okay.
So this is definitely, if you know someone that's a Palo Alto resident that's interested, they are eligible to apply.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any changes, requests, or deletions to the agenda? I don't hear any. So, a first item of business is approval of the draft minutes for the last meeting. Do we have any changes?
I move the minutes be adopted.
Second? Anybody second?
Second.
Okay. I think we're all in favor. Anybody who isn't, say nay. Okay. And I believe Monique's now going to talk to us about the library strategic plan for 2018-2021.
When I say 2021, that just feels surreal to me. But so, believe it or not, we're coming up to the last year of the last strategic plan. We have been doing. The last time we did a 3-year plan. And my reason for bringing it to your attention is so that you, as a commission, can begin thinking about whether or not you want to have a subcommittee to be the LAC voice as part of the strategic plan. And as we start to have discussions with stakeholders as well as the library staff, we'll know who we should contact. And I know that it was Dawn and June in the past. You may wish to assign 2 different people because normally, again, you can have subcommittees for about 6 months, accomplish your work, and then sort of move on unless there's a reason to continue. Excuse me. This time around, we do not intend to hire a consultant to guide us through the process. We feel like the existing strategic plan was a very good baseline to begin with. And we feel like there need to be some tweaks and additions. For example, the technology staff have developed a technology plan. So looking for replacing the technology plan that expired maybe 2013, but that we've still been finishing up. And they've done some work on technology assessments in the library, things like that. And so we have the basis of that plan. We will also be reviewing the collection development policy, which has not been reviewed since I took over as the library director almost 6 years ago. So just to take a look at it to ensure it's still accurate, still what we want that policy to look like. And then think about also a collection maintenance plan. So a plan for what are we going to collect, how are we going to collect that, what happens if we have a large donation, what happens if we have cutbacks, how do we adjust to best meet the needs of the community. So those are the things that we'll be wrapping up into a strategic plan. However, we want it still to be a very streamlined document that's clear to the staff and to the community about what our goals and aims are for the community. So that was really what I wanted to be sure you were aware of. In terms of what we've accomplished, we've done pretty well. There's a lot of things on there that we've really worked on over the last 3 years, and I think that this year we will accomplish even more. We've recently established a data analytics committee of staff members who are looking at the statistics, all the reports we do, all of the ways we collect satisfaction data and how we collect all those different numbers. And we're really looking at, okay, what are the most valuable pieces of information? Should we change the performance measures in the budget document, for example? How can we best report this out so that going into the next strategic plan, we will hopefully have that layer of reporting ready to go and to feed into that document. So I don't think we did put action there in case you guys wanted to take some action. We also put discussion in case you had more questions for me at this point, or you wanted to create the subcommittee to at least meet with me, gather in some information to maybe make or it could just be the chair and the vice chair and I, and then we make a decision of how we want to do that. But I'm bringing that up just so that you can.
So do we have discussion?
You can have discussion, absolutely.
Okay. So do people want to comment?
Well, first, I think we do need a plan for the future.
Mm-hmm.
The libraries are very important. Closer? Okay. How's that? Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Libraries are a very important institution in this city, and I think it warrants having a study, at least, very least, if not a modification of the existing plan. But I don't think we should just ignore it. I think we should be looking at it and deciding, gee, do we want to just continue existing plan as it is, or do we want to make some changes, we want to make some additions, subtractions, but at least look at it so we have an idea of how successful we've been in the last 4 or 5 years, where we may have had some bumps, and where we'd like to fix things. I think it's worth doing, and so I think we ought to have a subcommittee that looks at it and come back. I don't think it's going to take a long time. 5-6 months probably is at the most. I don't think we need a consultant, I agree. I think we can do it ourselves. But I think we should have an idea of where we want to go, and we want to have something we can present to the city council and say, all right, this is how we thought we were going to perform with our last plan. This is what we did. This is what we think we should do going forward. This is how we think we're going to do it. I think it's worth doing.
So I totally agree, and I don't know if we got in your way or helped you last time. I did listen to what you were saying about basically use the old plan, changes in terms of technology and the collection development and collection maintenance. And in the plan, do we need to anticipate the kind of services or programs? Should the plan have something about that?
It's a good point. We can call things out. Usually, well, what we did in the last one, if you'll remember, we had specific goal areas that covered things like early literacy, that covered things like technology and exploration kinds of things, and then had some pretty broad action steps under each of those. So I feel as though that format worked okay for us because under those action steps, then there were other specific activities that we did. And maybe that is something that the commission could give some feedback on in terms of specificity, or things like that. So I think that you were very helpful in the last time in pointing out that we did not include diversity as either a value or a subject area. And we've come back and said, yeah, we need a diversity action plan, something that, it can be included in the report as well. Or at least these separate plans linked to as part of the strategic plan. So, so anyways.
No, I see that, and I look at collection development and collection maintenance. I know when we were being interviewed, there was people who were candidates who said that they knew more about the collection than Monique did, and they should be in charge of what books we. I don't think so at all. That's your job, but I think the Library Commission could help in terms of what kind of programs the community wants, and I think that's what you just said. And I think even, my question would be is there some way to do a survey or something, and we can talk about that separately. We don't have to answer it here.
Sure.
The other thing relative to the fact that there's a data analytics committee, June in particular applauds that, as you.
I know it's June.
And but I would like to reinforce the fact that the other thing we've talked about every time we've talked about data analytics was the kind of dashboard, the kind of transparency, and the kind of infographics that we might generate from that, so that whatever we collect, it's easily presented to the community. It's not even so much presenting it to it's clearly important to present it to your staff, sort of important to present it to us, but really important to present it to the community. So I would encourage that to be a big part of what.
That is exactly part of their charge. So, and we have a new librarian who has not yet started, who has infographics experience.
Great.
So
Great.
we're looking to, as we replace staff, looking to hire the people who can have the skill set to help us with that.
Yeah, so I would.
And if I may interject, I think a program plan, a plan for the programming could go alongside technology, because there's a lot of program work in the technology plan. And the same thing goes with collections. If you want to promote collections, we do that through programming primarily. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that all sounds interesting. And the other thing in terms of collection development, you use the general term collection, and that includes everything. I think it's interesting. I'm guessing that a couple of years ago, or even last year, in this conversation, ebooks would have come to the top immediately. And I think we're back to an era where let's start with the collection, and let's start with a general look at it, as opposed to let's insist on going down that path. I'm perfectly willing to volunteer to be on a subcommittee with June or whatever. I also think that it's interesting for the other commission members to have this experience and participate. So if others want to speak up, June or I would advocate, but I think I'll speak for both of us. We'd be happy to work with you.
Yeah, I was just going to, I know in the last plan, we spent a lot of time with the consultant and doing surveys and segmenting. So I would be interested to find out how we're going to integrate the public input into this process, think about that specifically. If we're not going to hire a consultant to do the survey for us, is it through meetings or, in library opportunities, whatever it may be. But I think that's an important piece of it since we built that great foundation, a few years ago. And then the only other thing I was going to suggest is, from a planning process standpoint was, we spent a lot of time looking at Palo Alto last time. Is there a way to also take a step back and look at broader trends? I know we get point information from you every week, a lot of emails, and we talk about them here. But if there was someone who could come present or speak to us, or some summary information about where libraries might be in 5 years in general, that might help guide us to look just beyond the borders of Palo Alto and see how we fit as well. So I think that would be a good piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
And I think a subcommittee is great. I'm happy to have whoever represent us. That's fine.
So trends for the library as a whole, where libraries might be going. So you're saying to come and speak to us, or to us and Monique's staff, or
invite the public, or all of the above. I just don't know. It depends. But at a minimum, I'd say it would be wonderful for us to have some resources to help guide us. But if it's valuable to us, it's a good point. It could be valuable to a lot of folks.
So that might be interesting to have somebody come in and throw out a lot of ideas that then we can, decide whether they're appropriate. I certainly like the idea of the survey, but I don't want to, Sheena, did you have something you wanted to contribute also?
Yes, I think survey is very good because we're making the strategics from 18 to 21. So I think now it's 17. So we still have time to make the plan. So I think survey is important, especially we have a email list. So we can design a survey and try to email all these questions to our patrons to understand them more. I know we do have the Orange Boy which can help us understand our patrons, but if we can get the first-hand information from our users, that would be good. And also we need resources to let us know, to broaden our vision about library service. I think that would be very good. Thank you.
So just a few thoughts. One of the reasons we're going to have the strategic plan is basically it says we're going to make these things a priority as we move forward. And which allows you and your staff, as you're making decisions, to say, no, we're not going to do that, but we are going to do this. And, and of course these things change, as you pointed out before. But I do kind of agree that having a survey to get some information that would help us prioritize would be useful. So, for example, do people in Palo Alto who always say they want more hours for the library want that more than they want a larger collection? Or do they want that, that kind of thing? So, so let me just ask you a question, too. Last time we did this, I think what there was a strategy document. We talked about mission, vision, goals, and the goals were pretty, they were general, but they were also fairly specific about what you might want to have achieved by 2017, by this year? Yeah. But then there was a work plan, which I think more of as sort of tactics. So you have this strategy. Here's my strategy.
Right.
And then the plan is I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And I think when you talked about what we've achieved or what you've achieved. That's a little bit more in relationship to the work plan
Correct.
than the strategy, because you've been operating toward that. So I think
Right.
both of those are things that we would be interested in understanding
Right.
and providing providing input to and feedback about
Right.
in general. So I think we have a couple, ideas here: the survey idea, the speaker idea. Help with data analytics is, of course, something we can provide. What I was thinking back to was, remember we did the our effectiveness training seminar
Effectiveness training.
right after
Right.
Doug and Don and I started.
Right.
And
With Caltech.
right. So that was when we really came up with the idea of subcommittees that we had before. So we had the group working on teens, and we worked on strategy. And what were the others? There was
Analytics.
well,
There was an analytics one,
analytics.
right? Because
Yeah.
you looked at sort of baseline comparisons with other
right.
libraries around the country.
So it might be that what we actually might have is a couple of different subcommittees that we might want to work with your staff in some way, or we could have a session and talk about it, topic A. We could have a session and talk about topic B or something like that. I don't think we want to do this stuff. We want to provide input, and I think it's important to make that clear that
Right,
we have
yes.
ideas and we want to represent the community, but we value your work.
Thank you. I will also say that, again, in your role, talking with your council buddy, right, that would be important. I think also staying aware of what's going on in the budget process and the fact that, revenues are down. It's likely we won't have as much money to spend necessarily. Although there was that huge investment to increase hours. And our budget is not the kind of budget where you can cut here, there in little pieces and not have it affect something somewhere. Our budget is pretty basic, and if you cut materials, there is an impact. If you cut staff, there is it's an obvious thing. So that also fits into how we think about this. And that was one of the things we discussed with the last strategic plan, was that the idea would be that there was progress we could make on all of these goals, and no matter what the budget situation was, there were ways still of having impact in those areas. And so I think that that's, a good thing. But you're absolutely right. This helps us prioritize what direction we're going in, where, and why. So, sure. So we can, however we want to work on it, and it may be that it is more than one subcommittee. Maybe there's for the plan itself, but maybe there is something looking at data or looking at regional benchmarks or something like that. So.
Hi, thank you, Lydia. We'll be happy to see you in a few minutes. Something to say? Go on.
So I think, as long as this works well, thanks, June. I think you suggested earlier on, Monique, that maybe June and I could meet with you and just create a structure, and I'm sure, could we say that Bob and Jean and Doug are all willing to participate in committees some way, and we'll figure out some way to work that structure rather than sort of, I think we're chasing our tail right now in this conversation.
Yes, that's absolutely fine. And then maybe by February, we'll be ready, you'll be ready, your next regular meeting, you'll be ready to have
A proposal of how we
proposal or
work in
something.
teams. And then if somebody wants to be on this committee but not that committee, we just shuffle it around and we can make that work. I do have two comments.
Before you go on from that. So perhaps people could email Evelyn if they have any particular interest, and then she can tell us.
And
So how many subcommittees we're going to have?
I don't think we know that, I think is what June is saying.
Well, so we don't know. The subcommittees can't be larger than 2. We have 5 people. We could theoretically have any number of subcommittees, but so far I've heard perhaps something around what we think should be covered in the survey, but I don't think it's working with you on the survey. I think it's a design. I don't think it's designing the survey.
No.
I think it's providing input on what the survey should cover, and maybe in reviewing this survey, but we might want the whole group to review the survey. So maybe it's too early.
Yeah, I would say,
How long is it going to take?
well,
to
we
do
hope
this?
to have it done by the end of the year, so,
Okay.
by the end of the calendar year.
Calendar year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not fiscal year. And, I mean, we could, I have never known a strategic plan that ended exactly at the end of the time period and didn't hang around for another year or so. So, we don't want to rush it, but we also feel like there are some things underway that kind of, we'll take through the end of the year. And then we will have accomplished quite a bit in terms of the original plan. So as we work through this year, we'll do some analysis. And it might not only be survey, it might also be focus groups, other things like that. So I would rather have you put together perhaps a list of things that you want to see included rather than have you review the survey. Because I think then we get into the wordsmithing and why is that in there? And, we do have folks who are experienced in that or access to others who can help us with that. Retired librarians, retired consultants who have all had a lot more experience.
Than any of us.
Well, than me too. So, I've done quite a few, but just in a different context.
I even think discussing what the survey should be about, because I think June, you had some really good ideas of, would you rather have this versus that? My thought was also, what kind of programs would you like to have, which is a different kind of survey. So I'm going to suggest again that maybe you and I could meet with Monique. Maybe we could come up with a list of potential committees that we could distribute to the group, to the board. They could then say, well, if you're going to have that committee, or we could maybe vote on them in a way, saying, I'd like to be on that, I'd like to be on that, and that would inform which ones we should have. Is that okay with you, Madam Chairman?
So I think if nobody has objections, it makes sense to me that Dawn and I meet with you. We recap the discussion that we've had tonight, and the next meeting we come back and say, this is what we think we would probably want to have subcommittees to focus on, and then people express their interest in what those are. Does that fit? Got nods all around?
That general approach is okay, but on the survey, there are 2 things we have to keep in mind when we're doing it. One is, what are we going to be surveying? What questions are we going to be asking? What issues do we think are important? If we want to talk, let's say, as an example, collections. Okay, what kind of material would you like in the collection? Is books good enough, or do you want electronic, or do you want access over the internet, or whatever?
Right.
And what topics are interesting to you? Is science fiction covered adequately? Is
Right.
mysteries covered adequately? Is whatever covered adequately? Do you want more of this or that?
Right.
That's one way of doing it. And the other one is, how do you ask the community to respond to this? How are we going to get, not just to have the questions, but how do you get it out so that you get intelligent responses back and you get a relatively high proportion of people responding? So I look at it as two sides.
Right. Yeah, and I think that we have some thoughts about that in place, either using, the electric bill or something else, as we've done inserts in that before. So we're thinking about that, and also making a URL available for people who would prefer to do it online, that kind of thing. So I feel like in that respect, we're able to get to that.
And I think what I'm hearing too is, well, the survey might deserve its own discussion, and so it might be a future topic also. Okay, so now do we need to vote, or do we just say we decided that we are? So Don and I will meet with you in the next couple weeks or something, and discuss the general concept, and then we'll have more discussion next meeting, which is next month, I think.
May I suggest that since Monique, you're very experienced, and the other retired consultant and librarians, they're very experienced about the survey, may I suggest that they could first provide a draft. If we want to have a survey, what kind of questions that should be included in the survey? So next time when we're having the regular meeting, then we will have something on hands to discuss and to try to give some inputs about the content of the survey.
Okay.
So because we only have 6 meetings per year, so
Right.
we have to,
That's why we're bringing it up now, rather than waiting till later.
So, Madam Chairman, can I just, two quick things. Monique, I assume it's redundant to suggest that staff development is part of your plan?
It is part of the plan.
Okay, and I think Doug's suggestion of having somebody that's knowledgeable in the direction of the library industry, should we say? I actually have a suggestion of somebody I suspect is pretty expertise in that area.
Okay.
And I think that you would do a really nice job of giving us a brief presentation on that.
You know what? I
you mean her.
I appreciate
Okay.
that, but
For the record, Don suggested that Monique's opinion would.
I
Be
but
something
I
we
have
wanna
some
hear.
other people in mind so that you can hear other voices who would be great presenters and also engaging for the staff as well as the community. So I think it'd be great.
Great, thank you.
Sure. But I appreciate the the trust you have in my abilities.
And so I think also as this meeting, we are going to be considering Doug's suggestion also about what kind of, if there's an outside speaker that could think way far forward. So I think 5 years isn't enough. I think it's more 10, if we're, because Monique knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years, but it's some technology guy somewhere, he's got something in mind that's going to make it happen in the next 10 years. At the end of 3, we're going to need to change our plan because this guy's going to come out, and we're going to say, why can't you do that? Right? So,
Okay.
so I think that's the value of your thing.
Great.
Okay.
But you're still talking about library as an industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea, the broader broader, longer-term perspective.
Got it.
As you probably got some thoughts on how to do that.
I do.
All right, great.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Monique. Anything else to say to wrap up? We're okay to move on. To a very apropos topic, future topics for LAC meetings.
I believe this was your item.
It was. So we did just talk about how the strategic plan is going to be on next month's agenda. I had a few questions, but I thought might be useful. We've been getting some really, really good presentations from your staff about various programs, the teen program, their participation in hardwood, or some of them. But so one of the things that I have had a question is about personally is the subject that you just brought up, the collection. What is the collection plan, and how, or how do we decide all these things, or what should we know about the collection?
Okay.
So that was a topic that I thought perhaps we would have some interest in hearing about, and I wondered if other commissioners have similar wonders.
You mean if there are other subjects?
Other subjects they'd like
that
to
we could
have us
plan
get? Yes.
sort of the year's worth of special presentations?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there's another topic that I think is rising up above, and that's what I'd call technology. And one of the, and it's mentioned slightly in your report, 3D printing, which is getting more and more of a, let's say, popular conflict. We have a lot of people that like to use it, but we don't have an awful lot of capacity, and we only have it in, 2 branches right now?
2 branches.
Yeah, so we got to be considering that. Do we want to expand to all 5 branches? Do we want to put more printers in the branches we already have it? What kind of reaction are we going to get from the community when we say, "Hey, we have 3D printers available, come on in"?
We've already done that. We
Yeah.
know what the reaction is.
Yeah, we want it.
Well, they're usually booked about 3 months in advance. So
Right.
we're booked up. The right now the critical issue, and I know we're not going to discuss this, but is basically that they get clogged. And so we actually have 5 printers, but we have to rotate them in and out because the plastic clogs while it's printing. And, we're not really technicians, but there are in each branch maybe 1 person, 2 people who kind of know how to do the work. So that's one of the reasons we've limited it at this point. That said, we're still looking. There are new equipment. We sent a couple staff to the Consumer Electronics Show to see what's coming and to see what we can expect in the future. And there are some new possibilities coming, but yeah, it's a big. The problem is the equipment itself.
Yeah, it's
A bigger challenge than we expected.
Yeah, it's a problem both from the equipment standpoint, from the staff standpoint, because when the equipment messes up, first thing they do is run and call staff to fix it.
Sure.
And if you only have 1 person per branch that has any knowledge, you're inevitably going to have times when that person isn't there.
Right. But I think it's a great idea for a presentation, particularly because we bought as part of a grant, that large supercomputer that the staff actually built, the technical staff, to run the 3D modeling software so that we can work with the community to create whatever it is they want to create in 3 dimensions without having to print it 3D and then
Yeah.
go, oops, got that wrong. Okay, let me fiddle with it. Oh, it's not quite right. So now we have an Oculus Rift, virtual reality set up to go with this. We have a number of different VR wear items, but so this is a way to do it without wasting the stuff. So we're hopefully trying to be zero waste compliant.
Okay, so sold. We'll do a
do
3D
that.
printing presentation. What else?
So I'll triple that vote. And I did want to just let you know, when we first put the press release out, the slots filled up right away.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, there were going to be more slots. So I did find one.
Oh,
So
good.
there are open slots, a few if you're flexible. But there is, another piece is the, bringing your 3D object. There also are scanners and such that, so it really starts to become a bigger topic.
Correct.
And a fun opportunity. So another thought about a potential topic, I know we're interested a lot in the programs. So, that in general would be interesting. There was one in particular, I think Ruth Ann that was new as of a year ago on the citizenship.
New Americans.
New Americans,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And I think that's a timely topic. So
Right.
I would really be interested to see how that's going and hear more about it and
Sure.
what we can do to support it.
Okay, great.
Did we have one on New Americans?
We have a whole, it's a.
I mean, no. Did we have a presentation on New Americans?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe we did. It might have been one where you were absent.
You might not have been here.
So, but it
But-
would be good to have an update and talk about what we're planning to do in the future and.
Well, I think it actually has. I think it's maybe been 6 months or so, and it was just getting going, I think.
Yes.
And it seems to be very successful.
It is.
So that would be great.
Can we,
Super
can we
popular.
frame that as inclusiveness?
It is our inclusiveness. Yeah, we'll have a report, but it's the ESL classes. We have beginning and advanced. We have people who come from as far away as Sunnyvale because most libraries just sort of do the beginning conversation class. And there's an ESL book club, so people who aren't comfortable being with an English-speaking book club, they come to this, all read the same book, and then talk. And we have the monthly family programs about what the life and culture is like in the U.S. for new arrivals. We have the citizenship corner that we've developed, and programs related to that, drop-in programs and things like that. So it's actually a whole suite of things now that are very popular, and then leads into things like our collaboration with the Being Different Together. So we're participating in that as well.
Good. It was just occurring to me also, something that you have, which I thought was a really great idea, is the Tech Tutors program.
Yeah,
And that's still going on,
it is.
right?
Uh-huh.
It might be good to have some sort of presentation on that, just in terms of what do they find they're covering? How have things changed? How much is it used? I think it's more teens that are
It's
really
teens,
helping with
yeah.
it, right? And so that would be like kind of a team coming to talk to us too.
Yeah, it was initially a grant-funded program that was developed as part of the Eureka Library Leadership Program.
Mm-hmm.
And so the teens at that time were tutoring at Alvanitas and JCC, and they still do go do off-site presentations like how to use Twitter, how to use basic things like that. Most of it is about how to download ebooks and how to FaceTime with their grandkids or something like that. But I'd be happy to invite Jessica back, and she can do a follow-up and talk about how the program has changed and what kinds of things we're addressing now.
And I guess maybe that other question that I had earlier, I think you said there's some new web changes in the middle of the year. So when that happens, maybe that.
Yes.
Yeah,
when-
which
when
you would think
we-
of anyway.
Yeah, when we implement BiblioCommons, we'll talk about that.
So what about our the teen youth librarian? That's a.
The teen librarians
Yes.
and the T-Lab? Yes. I mean, we did just see them last year, where, we can certainly bring them back to talk about, or at least provide maybe slides or a report or something. Sure. Go.
So, one of the things you just mentioned was people associated with the library going out into the community. I'd be interested in a discussion of what other kind of outreach are we doing with the bicycle program and things like that.
Sure.
Which makes me think that as we look through these, some of these are major, some of these are minor presentation types, and maybe we should be declaring if we're going to have a collection topic, it should be a major. But if we're going to have library in the community, it could be minor. And the only difference is, is it a half-hour discussion or a 5-minute discussion? But that would help you rather than sitting there saying, oh, geez, I have to make half an hour on everything.
Yeah, we don't have to make half an hour on everything. Though we know that the things that seem minor but have a lot of excitement often generate excitement and questions and interest. So everybody then is, wants to know more about Pause to Read, right? It's so cute to see the dogs and the kids reading to them and everything. So, those are the kinds of, or we have yoga for the, finals, the finals cram slam thing. And so, yeah, it's, we'll just go ahead and treat them as a presentation. I will tell the staff, you're limited to this amount of time, and then we'll see how it goes. Because we're happy to share. We're proud of our programs and the things we offer. I know it's nice to think that there are other libraries leading the way, but we do a lot of pretty innovative programming, so we have great staff.
We do indeed have very, very innovative programs. So, Lydia, also, this might be a good time to invite you later on, whenever you think you or the council needs to know something, we can certainly agendize it or certainly answer your questions offline. But, if anything comes up and you think, well, we've been talking about, I don't know, traffic, and we decided we have to route, or the shuttle bus, and we want to know how that affects the library. Say you had that question. We can make sure it gets dealt with. Okay, yeah. Okay, any more suggestions, or we move on?
And I will say that we do have a pretty full meeting already for next
We do.
month, so
We do.
We'll put these off and
Yeah, I'm
schedule
happy
them
with
as
that
we can.
agenda, especially because we're going to add into that the subcommittee, or the strategy. Okay, and so the next item is the follow-up discussion on College Terrace. So there was an insert in the packet, which I don't know if everybody got to see. And I suspect, although I don't remember having this question, that we had asked to know what percentage of the holds overall College Terrace represents, and whether that's representative given, who knows, the size of the community that it services, right? So did everybody see this? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, this was a specific question that you had asked.
That me, yeah, okay.
I don't know if it was you. It was you
Us.
being the
Okay.
LAC, yes. And so Alex Perez went back and looked at,
Well, I think we figured that there are a lot of people who like to go to that library, like to pick up their books at that library. There's a small footprint there, and it has a small profile in general, but this is pretty good. So a lot of people are picking up books there.
yeah, 8 to 9% each month.
Any more questions, topics? Thank you, though. We appreciate that he did that. His original presentation was good. And I guess I have a question that goes along with it. There's a report being prepared for the city council related to use on College Terrace that came out of, remember our, when we presented to the city council, then Karen Holman had a question
Right,
about.
and we were going to send a memo to answer all the questions once the new folks were settled in. So we're, by the
Still
end
waiting.
of this month or early February, it'll be an informational item on the council
Okay, so it'll just
packet.
be in the packet.
Yeah,
Okay.
to answer the questions that were asked that night, and then you'll receive a copy in whatever LAC packet as a communication item.
Terrific. Anything more on College Terrace? Okay, our next item. So we've had city council buddies as a general, and mine is Eric Filseth, who is still on the council. and I don't actually remember who others' council buddies are. But now that we have new council members, we need to at least get those council members assigned a buddy, and I think we might want to change things up a bit. So Monique, go ahead. Tell us what we have.
So I will tell you what you have. So last year, Councilmember Du Bois was our liaison. In 2015, Bob, you were his buddy. Councilmember Philseth is Loy. Adrian Fine, we need a council, and however you want to switch this up, you can do that too. Chin was Karen Holman. Liz Niss was McDougal. Greg Scharf was Hagan. Greg Tanaka is Open. And Corey was also Chin, right? And then, and Lydia, because you're liaison, we don't usually assign the liaison a buddy. So you have to be buddy-free for this year. Yeah, that's right. So I don't know how you want to do that. If people want to trade, want to keep them, anybody wants to take Tanaka or Fine, I'm open to suggestions.
So June and I have had a brief discussion on this. I think I'd like to trade from Liz and take Eric.
Eric Fisk?
Ooh, okay, thanks.
Well,
Eric.
that was, and I would take Adrian.
Okay. So Du Bois, Holman, so now we have Niss.
So we need somebody for Tanaka.
I'd be happy to work with
happy to
Councilmember
do that.
Tanaka.
Okay. And
Are you guys okay with that? Or do we have to arm wrestle?
didn't hear that.
So Doug might take Tanaka.
Tanaka, okay.
Greg,
Greg.
Greg, yeah.
Your name basically has to be Greg, almost.
Well, I'd like to stay with Du Bois and take Lydia also.
She doesn't, she doesn't get one assigned.
She doesn't get one assigned
Because she's here all the time.
She's here all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, she doesn't need it
She's-
then.
Yeah. But I will put you down just in the event that there's a question or a need.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So Doug, you're no longer going to have Scharf, is that correct?
That's fine. Or if we need people to take two, I can continue. But if someone wants to work with Councilmember Scharf, that's fine too.
Well, so let's ask Sheena, do you want to switch?
Or you can keep, you have Karen Holman and Corey Wolbach.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'd like to take Greg Scharf.
You would,
Yeah,
okay? That
That's
makes
so I'll do
sense.
that, especially I'm being prompted. Okay, so me.
So Sheena, you have Karen and Corey. You want to keep those or you want to change? Okay.
Okay, so Liz Niss still needs somebody then. Or no, you still have Liz? You still have Liz.
No,
I have Adrian and Eric.
So
He is-
Liz is,
But I'll take Liz too if necessary.
I can-
only got one.
I can work with
you want to take Liz? Okay,
Councilmember Niss, yeah.
okay,
great.
all right,
All right, there we go.
sounds good.
And Bob, are you still the liaison for FOPAL?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Is there any
So,
reason to change that or amend that? You're fine with it?
Fine,
Okay.
you're enjoying it?
yeah.
So, I guess one of the things that I have found is sort of an issue is that I think we need the contact information. So the contact information that I mean, actual emails and phone numbers, not the clerk's email and phone number for the council members. So, I think they probably need ours. So I'm not sure how we could accomplish that, but perhaps
Evelyn and I will
unless
work
people
on
don't
it.
want to do that. But I would be happy to have my council buddy be specifically sent an email that says, this is your council buddy, and this is her, and you can give them my cell phone and my email. Okay, so.
Okay.
I think that
Well,
needs to happen because you want to make contact with these people right away, and if it doesn't happen, then we don't have a pipeline, and there's not much point.
Correct.
So, okay, so you're going to take care of that. And I had another idea along these lines, which maybe this should have been under future topics, but since we have this council buddy thing, like remember last year, the year before, we had our meetings in the library. We rotated meetings in the libraries, in the local libraries, to get to know them, which I found very useful. And you know, when we've always got on the agenda commissioners' notes and whatever the commissioners came up with as part of the agenda. But I wonder if we might want to have the concept of each of us having one of the libraries be a library that we pay more attention to, like perhaps visit, maybe know there's a librarian in charge of each, right? Or
No.
or not in resident, or no, okay.
There is not a librarian assigned there because, for example, there's a manager in charge of 3 libraries, and there's others where there's a manager. So
Yeah, so I don't know how practical the idea is, but just the idea of, going there regularly, seeing what it's perhaps attending a program that's actually there, as opposed to just, whatever program you're interested in, something like that. Or is that, do you already do that? You maybe already do that.
To a certain extent, we go to Mitchell Park about every 2 or 3 weeks, and occasionally stop and talk to the librarian if they're not busy, here, we're looking for this, or how does that work, or that sort of thing, and just get a little bit of information about what's going on in there and how the system is working. But it's pretty casual. It's not very formal at all. And some of it is inspired, let's say, by issues my wife raises. So if you want to continue with something informal like that, that's fine. If you want it more formal, we can do that. Whatever you think works.
I applaud June's idea. I like it. The only thing I would consider is whether you wanted to rotate that. We only meet every 2 months. So every 2 months you could say, okay, next month you've got children's library, and then after the next meeting you could say, okay, now you're at downtown, and next time you could say now you're at College Terrace, and that way people could rotate amongst the libraries. And have an expectation, if the library, whether there's a person individually in charge or not, would have expectation that somebody would show up and maybe even make some way that it's not intrusive, that Monique could help us make so it's beneficial to them and to us.
So I have to admit that I wasn't quite sure exactly how this would work. I try to introduce myself to library staff when I'm there. I don't know whether it would be necessarily to talk to the staff. Actually, I just thought,
Right.
We might want to focus a little on each of the libraries individually. So that was the idea. But what I'm wondering is, what would come up for you over, what would make sense, or what would be useful things for us to do in that regard?
I don't
not
know.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great too. I mean, you know, I can see a benefit. I mean, in my mind, you go to each library branch a couple times a year anyway, as part of your role. But I know from having worked with different groups, even where there was only one library, that they had never gone to the back of the library, you know.
Yeah,
right? They
that's
walk in the
right.
front door, go to the meeting. Yeah, I would appreciate very much if, you know, it wasn't like you were not interfering, but, you know,
Yeah,
asking
right, I
a
don't
lot
wanna
of
do
pokey
that.
questions.
Yeah.
And the staff might feel a little odd too if that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly, I mean, I think it would be helpful for anybody. I mean, I do the same thing. I just go sit down in Rinconada, kind of in the back, and see how people use the library and see, you know, what I see. And, you know, and that can be helpful. So perhaps, you know, just interacting, using the collection. You know, if it's difficult for me to use something, then I know it's difficult for the customers to use it. Today I wrestled with one of our apps for about half an hour and finally went, oh, forget it. You know, and so that's a good signal that, the vendor and the staff are good at this, but the regular person can't figure it out. So it's the same kind of thing. Like, just, if it were me, I would go in and just kind of incognito and maybe go, you know, sit in the back of a story time or a program and see what's going on, and, you know, just that kind of a thing. But it's entirely up to you. You know, you'll, you know, and if you want, you're certainly welcome to set up an appointment with any of the branches and see them on your own, you know, and see the back room kind of stuff. College Terrace, you can see into the back room, standing almost anywhere in the library. So
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I had that as an idea at all.
Right.
And I don't think we want to be overhead, you know, for the
Right.
staff. I mean, there's no point in making the, oh, people are coming. But maybe, I mean, I kind of like Don's idea of maybe everybody takes the library this month, and next month we talk about, well, okay, we all visited.
right.
I think it would probably be good if it's not our normal library. Like, not the one you go to regularly, where you get your holds on a regular basis.
Right.
Which for me is Mitchell. And maybe for all of us is Mitchell. But are people willing to do that is also part of the question, or should we just think about it?
I think this is a good idea because the library that I usually go to, probably I'm kind of used to it. And just like what Monique would do, when I go to the library, I just sit and to find out how people use our resources or books, materials. If I found something, then I will ask. Just for instance, when I was in Mitchell Park and I found that the noise is kind of high, noise level is kind of high, and I will try to find the librarian, try to solve the situation because I heard people complained about the noise. So then I will approach to the librarian and ask for help. Otherwise, I will stay there and just, you know, observe and watch and something like that. But I think this is a good idea. So when we go to different library that we don't usually go to, I think that's a brand new experience. Probably we could observe more and get some opinions or thoughts that probably we don't have for the libraries that we usually go to.
You could even assign libraries that are not in Palo Alto, right? Regional libraries to see how they differ.
Ooh, we could do that the following month.
That's even better idea.
Yeah.
Just as long as we don't have to go during commute time, that's,
Okay. Or maybe that's part of the observation.
that's true. We could ride our bikes.
But when you travel, that's a good idea to visit a local library.
That's
I
true.
did. When I travel, I try to find local libraries to see how they're doing. Yeah, I think that's good.
So June, to your idea, and if we're going to start thinking about libraries, I probably spend more time at children's with my kids than anywhere. But I did hear at Rinconada about, with the community garden, a seed library. And I was kind of curious about that. So I would love to go and see it, or maybe ask around, like, and see from the librarians, what they have to say about it. So I'd be willing to volunteer for that this month.
I was just going to say, so you volunteered for Rinconada, which is not your normal, regular library.
And
Other volunteers?
And I go to College Terrace.
Okay. I could go to downtown.
Okay.
Well, then I'll go to Mitchell. That's not much left, except children's.
Oh, that's
Are there
right.
any books, Don, you want to check out at children's?
Children's
for you?
okay for you? No, your College Terrace.
There's some,
Who's
there's
children's?
some good things
Your
about
children.
parenting and
You are-
grandparenting, so.
Maybe you should do children's, and, I mean, I should do children's, and you should do
I'm
is your library.
a grandparent.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Downtown's my library. I mean, I spend as much time in the back office there. So, because that's where they keep all the 3D stuff they've made. So every time I go over there, I get to go see all the 3D stuff that's been made on the printer. So I'll take children's.
Okay, good.
They just need to be warned so that that there's not this, what's this old man doing skulking around the library.
Well, actually, it's a good test to see how quickly do they ask you. And you can say, hey, I'm here for I'm thinking about what I want to read to my 4-year-old granddaughter. They will be happy to help.
Okay, we have a plan. Thank you, guys. Okay.
Do you have some specific things we're all supposed to ask the librarians, or should we just kind of go in and leave it open?
I think my idea was to leave it open, even to have it be, as Sheena was talking about, what do you observe? What do you see? What did you not know was there?
Yeah. Okay.
What are the things you see that are really great that you didn't expect to see? That kind of thing, I think, more than, because that'll feed into this, what kind of help can we be with the strategic plan, for example?
Yeah.
What kind of practical help can we provide? Well, we've seen this with the community, I think, so. Because that's what I wanted, in some ways, from our previous time when we had the meetings in the libraries, but we were always doing them after hours. So you got certain flavor of it, but not the same as what's happening during the actual day. So, were we good? So, okay, next item is Monique's Library Director's Report. And thank you very much for all the good visuals in advance. Go on.
You're very welcome. First, I would like to welcome Lydia Coe, the council liaison, our brand-new liaison. We're very excited to have you as a part of the commission. And please, if you have any questions, reach out. June and Dawn, as chair and vice chair, are right on it all the time, but feel free to let me know if you have any questions. I wanted to first mention what was at Places tonight. Information about being different together. The library is collaborating on this project, and I encourage you to participate if you can in the first forum. Then we have the December 2016 monthly report. Since we postponed December's meeting and now we're having it in January, we have updated as much as possible. Again, if you have questions after, please let me know. Otherwise, you just had my regular memo about things we've been working on, hopefully that don't duplicate what's in the monthly report. But again, I feel like you've enjoyed the new revised monthly report. And if you have any questions, let me know. I did want to point out, as June and Dawn caught, that the circulation number was incorrect in the hard copy you got for October, was it? Yeah, College Terrace, or it was not 600, Mitchell, it was not 669,000, it was 69,000, and that's been corrected in the online version, so someone's finger got stuck on that. We did include the holiday calendar so that you will know what days we close during the year or close early. And I did also want to mention that three of you, your terms end in May, so just so that you're aware of that, and I'm sure that we'll have another presentation from the clerk's office asking for applicants for that. And then as we do every month, we've attached all the correspondence, first in a set that goes to the library director's email box, and then a set that has gone to the council. Sometimes they email us both, and so you get duplications. And hot off the shelf. So I don't know if any of you have any questions about any of the information provided.
Yeah, thanks, Monique. I had a question. You mentioned the book drops were installed,
They're
which is
installed
great.
and working.
So let's highlight that, definitely. So they're being well used and well loved, I guess, or how is it starting out? Do people know they're there? And
They, I think, know they're there. They're bright yellow, so you can't miss it. Usually the library color is sort of very similar to the blue recycling color. And so I said no blue because people are going to throw their recycling in it. No green because they're going to throw their compost in it. No black, it's got to be something that stands out. So no red for medical waste. It's got to be yellow. And I couldn't think of anything that was yellow, and they do stand out. They're being used a little bit. I think people had sort of stopped complaining, and they had stopped being angry about the fact that those were gone, and now they're back, so they'll never have to go without them again. And the staff are adjusting to that emptying. And of course, that means we have to have staff come in on holidays and we have to pay them to overtime usually to come in and empty those out. Hopefully, in the next, President's Day weekend, we'll get a sense of how full are they really, that kind of thing. So,
well, I think it's great response to feedback and,
yeah,
taking it into consideration, finding a way to make it work based on what we are hearing. So I think
Yeah.
that's really a success story.
yeah. They're great.
I would add congratulations on that.
I had a question. In your report, the last item talks about the new staff, and you said that you had a large number because you hadn't done anything last year. How many new staff members did take this course?
So there were 16 new staff, there were 16, I think, total in the workshop, 16 or 20? 16. And of them, I think 9 were new. So 9 new full-time. We didn't have the part-time staff participate. It generally doesn't work out because they're often working other places. So they only got a small subset of the training.
Oh, you're right. That is a pretty large number.
Yeah, it is. So we had a number of turnovers, a number of retirements. So, okay. I'm looking to Evelyn. Was there something else I was supposed to mention? I feel like there was. Okay. Anything else?
And no more discussion? Okay, yes, a finger.
So as part of the technology discussion, you mentioned that we have the Oculus in for purposes of the 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
Are we using the Oculus for any other virtual reality kind of programs or?
Not at this moment. We're trying to figure out where we would set this up, how we might do it. Are we going to take over a group, a study room, take over a staff meeting room, block it off certain times when staff are available to work on it? So, no, but if any of you all are interested in seeing how it works, let me know and we'll get it set up for you to try out. And I did want to mention you also, for those of you who did not go to the recognition event, you have a little gift from the library it's a charger for your car to charge your USB linked devices. And you also have from the American Library Association meeting last week, you have the new updated quotable facts about libraries, things that you can say when you're having coffee with your council buddy. You have this little pocket size item that talks about what libraries do throughout the country and things that are little factoids. Yes. Well, they included in there this time that there's more libraries than Starbucks. And it used to be, the quotable fact was that there were more libraries than McDonald's, which I found hard to believe. But I actually went into their annual report and to the libraries, and it was actually true that there are more libraries in the country than there are McDonald's. So pretty interesting.
I've always said there was too many libraries.
Yes, you see them on every corner. So anyhow, if you have any questions, please follow up with me. Thanks.
Okay, and I did think that this latest issue of Hot Off the Shelf was really good. So thank you. Thank your staff who did updates.
Great.
It's nice. I don't know how many people get Hot on the Shelf. Maybe quite a few. Okay, so we're moving on to actually Lydia's spot, the Council Liaison's report. Do you have anything in particular yet?
I don't have anything. I'm very sorry about that. Although I just want to say thank you very much, Monique, for participating and working and partnering with the Human Relations Committee. I'm also a liaison over there. That's why I'm so happy to see this here. So thank you for having me, and I'm very excited about working with you all this coming year.
Thank you. You're really welcome, Lydia. It's great to have you. Okay, and commissioners' reports and questions. So we can start with, Bob, do you want to update us on FOPAL at all?
Well, they are continuing to do quite well. Their book sales have been fairly constant, and I'm pretty sure the donation this year is going to be about the same as it was last year, the same as it has been, because their finances seem to be quite similar. So I think that they're on the right track, let's put it that way.
And have you heard any more about the concern about space or not for football?
They haven't been talking about it in the meetings. Okay. They may be talking about it privately, but they haven't been bringing it up in the meetings. I think they're trying to kind of get around it, if you know what I mean.
Well, they do actually have an additional space. It's like that they received, which is 300 something square feet. So they, they're just working on getting that set up in a way that it can serve as storage. And, they've been paying someone to use their garage for storage for a length of time, for many years, and they're hoping they'll be able to get out of that. So, so that was the last that I heard in context of the.
Yeah, I don't think they've got that resolved yet, though. They're still fighting about it, getting the garage empty and getting into the temporary, I guess you'd call it, space. It's not really. My impression was that other space wasn't completely firm yet. They were still negotiating back and forth. Maybe something's come since then.
They may be negotiating, but I think that they plan to take the space. Yeah.
I do have something to report. Palo Alto City Library, actually, City of Palo Alto works with the Palo Alto Chinese community, and we're going to have the second annual Palo Alto Chinese New Year Fair, and it will be held on February 12th from 2 to 5 p.m., and I hope everybody can mark that on your calendar and to join us to celebrate Chinese New Year. And we do have lots of performances like dragon dance and Chinese folk dance and the drum. And also we prepare lots of Chinese traditional food, which are very, very tasteful and delicious. Please come because the purpose of this event is to raise money for PAUSD. So it's February 12th from 2 to 5. Please come. Thank you.
Where?
Oh, where? Mitchell Park Library. Thank you so much.
And is it in the library or is it in the community center?
It's in the community center, yeah.
That sounds great. It sounds like it would be really cool.
Okay, let me say it again. It's on February 12th from 2 to 5 at Mitchell Park Library, Mitchell Park Community Center. Yeah!
Any other reports?
Thank you.
Okay. So,
I had a comment. As you know, my wife reserves books online constantly, and she had reserved one, and they sent her an email and said the book had come in. So when we went to the library to drop off our old books and get the new ones, and we went to look at the book, and it didn't exist. And so we talked to the librarian there, and he checked, and he says, "We don't have this book." So we were getting told it's come in, and somehow it just vanished. I don't know. I don't know whether it was the publisher that said they were sending it, or whether there's something in the library system. But anyway, my wife was a little bit annoyed because she was expecting the thing, and when you go in there and nobody knows where it is, it wasn't good. The other thing that happened.
Can I ask a question? Does that mean that the book did exist, but it was not on the shelf for your wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
we were told the book existed.
Correct. Right.
But
So
we came in to look for it, we couldn't find it, and they couldn't find it in their records.
so I guess I have the same question. The book was in the collection, or the book was on hold for your wife?
The book was supposed to be on hold, it was
Yeah.
supposed to be on the hold shelf, it wasn't
So
there.
occasionally people will just take things off the hold shelf and and the computer is not supposed to allow them to check it out, which means sometimes they just walk out with it.
Okay.
Sometimes there's something in the record that does allow them to check it out. But, yeah, that it happens, unfortunately. She must have wanted a really good, popular book.
So you're saying if people just randomly grab the book on the hold shelf, if that book is not hold for that particular person, would this person be able to check it out?
No, it shouldn't be. But there could have been something wrong in the record, or some people do just walk out with it. They don't check it out.
Oh.
So
So
it should
if-
set off the alarm.
Oh, yeah.
That may not work. I mean, it's not all foolproof.
I think that stuff is all radio frequency, so probably if you get enough junk around it and you took out a big pile and
It's
you had that
possible.
thing in the middle, yeah.
And your other comment?
Yeah, the other thing that happened, which isn't the library's fault necessarily, she tried to check a book out and, you put it on the checkout, and she got this error message that it couldn't be read. And she put it on 3 or 4 times that it couldn't be read. So we took it over to the librarian, and it turns out that this was a book which was donated by friends of the library. And when they do that, apparently they put a sticker in it. And he said sometimes the sticker just doesn't work. So he checked it out manually. But I thought it was interesting because I didn't realize that other organizations could put the stickers on the book, and if they do it wrong, that screws things up.
Well, they're not supposed to be putting the stickers in there, so I'm not exactly sure what, because the RFID sticker should come automatically when we, from the book vendor, from the wholesaler. It is possible that they came without the sticker and we put the RFID tag in there, and there may have been something wrong with it. So, again, it could be the technology, sadly.
We were told that it was the foundation that had put the sticker in.
The foundation or the Friends?
The Friends, rather.
No, it shouldn't have been the Friends anyway.
It was the donor. I might have the donor wrong, but it was the donor that supposedly put the sticker in, because he looked at it and he said, oh, well, but they put it in and they messed it up, so I'll have to do it manually.
Well,
But it wasn't a library sticker from what he told us.
okay, we'll have to investigate. Thanks.
We are actually ahead of schedule. So we could talk for 10 more minutes. The agenda for next meeting is a presentation from Pacific Library Partnership and Silicon
SVLS.
Valley Library System, or is that the same thing?
No,
They're two
Silicon
different.
Valley Library System is our region which goes from Palo Alto south to San Jose over to Los Gatos. It's a small region, a subset of Pacific Library Partnership, which
I see.
surrounds the Bay. And Carol Frost, the executive director, will be here to make the presentation.
And she's the director for PLP. And is she the new director?
She is.
Because Susan is doing some state thing, right? Or what?
No, she's gone to the University of Washington.
Oh,
She
okay.
is a chair. She has a chair there for 2 years. So she went back to the I school there.
All right, so that'll be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Gayatri is going to present on the marketing, what the library does do for marketing.
Right, very basics, and then we'll follow up in the fall to talk more about what's been implemented and how it's going.
Oh,
So
okay.
it'll be a two-part.
She's got a little bit of a plan, so it's
Yes.
not just what you do, but more about
Then you're
than what
following
you
up,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, and just for background, they're on Facebook and send a lot of digital
Facebook,
mail,
Twitter,
yeah.
Instagram, Pinterest, and we send a lot of things out.
I see things all the time. Yes, yes. Yes. Okay, and circulation loan period is going to be discussed?
Yeah, as we talk about data, right, we are one of 2 libraries in SVLS that has a 4-week loan period for books. Everybody else loans for 3 weeks. So if we were to shorten to be like everybody else, our circulation our numbers would match more apples to apples than
Oh.
apples to oranges.
From a survey point of view.
Right. And I know that, benchmarking against other libraries is one of the things we like to look at, but we're not counting the same way. So we thought we'd look to you guys to give us some ideas about aligning more closely with everyone else.
Okay, so that will be good, and then we also were adding an item for the strategy discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn, or are there more comments?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right. Should we vote? Aye. All right, thank you. Have a nice evening, everybody. Thank you for coming, Lydia. It was great to have you.